Hey everybody, Nathan Elson here, and welcome to episode 2 of How I Got the Shot. So what I'm doing with this series is I'm taking you guys through the creation of some of my favorite portraits. Now what'll happen is I'll take you behind the scenes on set, I'll walk you guys through the gear that I use, the lighting setups that I created. From there, we'll jump into the computer, we'll go through the color grading and the retouching and how it is that I got to the final image. So now that everybody knows what's happening here, these are the portraits that I created. And let's jump into the studio and show you how I put it all together. Now for these portraits, I'm using a 2-light setup. My main light is a Strobe Pro X600 Pro, and on that I have the 47-inch deep octa with the parabolic focusing bracket. Now this light is metered to f8 and is placed slightly behind the model, but it's positioned so that the light still travels across the model's face and shoulder. Now my second light is another Strobe Pro X600 Pro, and it's acting as my fill. Now that light's metered to around f2.8 and it's got a blue gel attached to it which is housed inside of a large Profoto deep umbrella. Now what that blue gel is doing is actually adding in just a little bit of color into the shadow areas. It's giving you these little bits of highlights that you see, and it's just adding a little bit more detail, a little bit more flair into the final beauty shot. Now when it comes to gels, I don't use a lot of them in my work, but when I feel it's going to add just that little extra something to an image, I'll bust out the selection that I have. I just carry around this roll of gels. Mostly it's blues, oranges, reds, greens, just a little bit of a mix of everything, just because you never know. But for the blue that I had on here, it is well taped. It's just one of these. It's a leaf filter gel, and they all come with a color code. So this one is actually number 202. So if you wanted the exact same color gel, Lee 202, that's what you're looking for. So now that we've gone behind the scenes and seen how the lighting was set up, let's jump into Capture One and get into the color grading. Now I'm already a big fan of the way these images look right out of camera, but I do want to add just a little bit more punch to them. So I'm going to come up into my Styles and Presets folder here, and I'm just going to click on my Cinema Style. Now what that's going to do is just add a little bit more punch to the color scheme that we already have, which is a little bit warmer in the highlights and cooler in the shadows. I am going to make just a couple more quick adjustments here though. I am going to bring the shadows up just a touch here, and I'm going to bring my clarity down just a little. There we go, just right in there. Now if we look at the before and the after, it's not a huge difference, but it's enough to actually make the image just have that little bit more visual appeal. Now I am losing a little bit of detail up in her hair here, so I'm just gonna create another layer. I'm gonna grab my paintbrush here and I'm just gonna paint into the hair just a touch here. And then I'm gonna come into my shadow area and just bring that up. Just bring a little bit of those details out. And if we look on here, if we turn this off, then we turn it back on, you can see it's just adding just that little bit of visual to the hair so that we're not losing it into the shadows. And here's the total before and then the after with a little bit of color grade. And I'm actually gonna bring the highlights up just a little bit. Oh, sorry, not on that one. Gonna come back to my background and just pump up, bring the highlights down a little bit just into her cheeks, just so I'm not losing anything there. And from there, that looks fantastic. Now for this, same idea, I'm just gonna come in, gonna move into my cinema here, come in, I'm going to bring my shadows up just a little bit, bring a little bit of that detail back, gonna bring my clarity down just a little bit here, and then we got the before and the after. And that's all I'm gonna do for color grading on these. With the presets, it takes a lot of the work out of it, so now we're gonna jump into Photoshop. So here we are in Photoshop, and I figured rather than you guys watching me do the exact same process to 2 different images, we're just gonna retouch this image here. There's a few more things that I wanna do to it, and it'll save a little bit of time. Now the first thing that we're gonna do here when we come in is I'm just gonna get rid of this eyelid. Now it's not a huge deal, but you can't see her eye, and I just figured it's a little bit distracting and something that, you know, once I kind of see it, I can't unsee it. So I'm just gonna come here, I'm gonna grab my clone tool, and I'm just gonna paint this away. I'm just gonna zoom in just a little bit more, just so that I'm not removing any part of the nose that I don't want to remove. And then I'm just gonna grab my healing brush here, and I'm just gonna make a selection outside of the area and just start painting in a little bit. And what that's gonna do is just smooth out any of the area on the backdrop that ended up getting affected a little bit, just the various gradients and light and stuff like that that are hitting onto the backdrop. It just smooths it out a little bit so you don't end up having an area that doesn't seem to match up with the actual background. So we'll zoom that back out. There we go, that looks perfect. Now the next thing that we're gonna do is I'm gonna grab my other healing brush here with the content aware selected, and I'm just gonna come in and I'm gonna start removing all of these little imperfections in the skin. Now it doesn't matter how perfect your model's skin is. With this type of lighting, it is going to show every little bump and imperfection that is possible to find in the skin. So rather than going through and running a Photoshop action, which just smooths everything out and destroys all of the pores and everything like that that you would see in a well-retouched image, I like to come in with my healing brush and just manually remove all of these things. Now, I do understand that it is a little bit more time consuming, but I feel like the end result is much better than what you would get if you went through and just ran a Photoshop action that just tried to blur and smooth everything out. Now, rather than you guys watch me go through and remove all of these random little bumps and stuff like that, I do have a fully retouched image here in terms of cleaning up the skin. And I'll just show you guys the before and the after, so you can see we still have all the skin pores and things like that. We haven't lost any of that detail, which I find to be extremely important. Now, the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna do a little bit of dodging and burning. Now what I've done is created a Photoshop action, and I will include this in the description below. And what it does is it creates two separate layers, one for burning, one for dodging. And the way that you use this is you come over and you select your brush tool. Then you want to make sure that your brush is set to white because your masks are actually set to black. Then you come up to your flow and you set this to around between 3 to 5%. And what that allows you to do is actually brush the strokes in rather than using them at full power. So if I grab the dodge here, I can come in and I can start painting away little areas that I just want to blend just a little bit better into the skin rather than using the healing brush. And it doesn't look like you're doing a whole lot, but if you turn this on and off, you can see the little areas that you're starting to blend into the skin just a bit more here. Come down here, kind of come into the chin a little bit. And as I was saying, with the model's skin here, she does have great skin. The lighting did look fantastic straight out of camera, so there isn't a whole lot of work that we have to do here. We're not trying to save anything. So if I come in, if I turn this on and off, you can see just little areas, especially in the cheek here, that I've managed to just blend a little bit better. If we come down, there's an area here on the neck. And I'm just gonna blend in a tiny bit more. If I turn that off and on, you can see how it lightens up just in this area here. And then again, I did see just little spots on her shoulder, things like this here. And again, just on and off. As you can see, it's just a really quick way to blend the skin naturally. And so if we come out, and I'm just gonna blend these two together just for the sake of showing you guys the before and after. So this is the before, this is the after, and there you guys go. And that's it for the second episode of How I Got the Shot. I've been trying to come up with a way for you guys to let me know what images you would like to see in these episodes of How I Got the Shot. And the best way that I managed to come up with is if you go to my Instagram and you just leave a comment on one of the images that you would like to see made into an episode, whatever gets the most comments is what I will end up making the next episode about. So with that, if you guys did like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't yet subscribed already, please do. It'd be very appreciated. And I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Cheers.